If you're anything like me, then you would love to see a fight between a space marine and Oliver.
A pussycat? Come on, let's eat him.
I love a story with food in it.
Oliver.
No, not that Oliver. I'm not a monster. I was talking about this Oliver.
Please, sir, I want some more.
What?
Yes, that Oliver, but not in the way you're thinking. Let me explain. Now, Space Marines don't normally pick fights with children, at least not human children, but they might if they looked like this. This is Oliver. Yeah, Oliver Twist. For those of you who know who Charles Dickens is and who Oliver Twist is, which dates me, and I'm sure a lot of you don't. Okay, but in the game Twisted, this is what he looks like. So, what is Twisted? Twisted is a tabletop skirmish game that is steampunk, just like Warmachine, and just like Warmachine is coming back. And to get a little jump start on that, I decided that I was going to paint up Oliver myself. So let's hop into that. So the first thing that I wanted to do was just kind of get this model out and show it to you. This is the model right after you buy it. This is what it looks like. It's resin, but it came in like 4 or 5 pieces. The cable on the back is flexible resin, so you're able to move that around and do whatever you need to it. It comes with this beautiful bowl because it's Oliver in his bowl, but just overall great model. I made the base just using some foam basing to make the cobblestones and finished it off with some dirt. The face itself, great, awesome style, absolutely loved it. So I was super excited to paint this thing. As you can tell, I primed it in a flat gray primer. I don't know why, but when it comes to doing like skin tones, I prefer the lighter color of the gray primer versus just doing the flat black, which is what I normally do. And just kind of going through here, I'll show off the paints and things that I use to do this. This flesh is all P3 paints, just because P3 is kind of my jam right now. And I started off with the Cinari skin for this color. I've learned that the darker the skin you start with, the easier it is to make it look like real skin, because you just kind of work your way up after painting that. And so that's what I do, is from there I worked my way up to the nylon flesh and just kind of going over the top of that, and you can see the difference between the two skin tones. And later on you'll see that I was actually really upset with myself, because when you're doing like skin that's stretched taut and like, you know, muscular and things like this, it's almost as if the skin becomes transparent, and so you want to see that red underneath the skin. And so one of the things that I was really mad at myself was for not doing that. So that's what I came back with the Cinari skin to do, and just using my wet palette, you thin the paint down. You thin it down until it's basically a wash. And then all you have to do is go back over those areas that are the stress points, like the cracks in the skin, and just put that into those areas where you want that red to come through. It really is like ideally, I wish I had done it first. I wish I had painted his whole body that deep dark red and then just kind of moved up from it. But it's also kind of a nice thing to do if that worries you, if you're concerned about starting from red. Anyway, moving on from the skin, I went on to the pants, and I actually wanted to try something out with the pants that I had seen in a TikTok recently of somebody painting Mary Jane from Spider-Man. And so I thought, well, this is a good point to try and do that. So I just went in with that Trollblood blue, which I thought is a nice light color for jean material, and I just hit everything with that. I think it took, honestly, one coat. That's the beauty of working with the lighter primer, is that you can go over it and get it all in there. And then once I was done with that, I wanted to do a dry brush over the top of it. And so I mixed in some white with that Trollblood to make it a little brighter, and mixed a little bit more to make it a little more brighter. And then I just got out my dry brush and hit it in the paint and dry brushed all of the jeans after doing them. So just hitting them with that, it made the creases, it made the points that stuck out a lot brighter. And ultimately, I'm pretty sure I went back in after this with just white and just a hair of the dry brushing. I went over it and dry brushed it so the jeans came out even more looking like those cracks. So if you stuck around this long, you're probably starting to wonder right now, what is Twisted and why should I care? Okay, Twisted is a tabletop skirmish game, and it's very different from the tabletop skirmish games I've played because of a lot of reasons. The art style, the characters that you can pick from, the factions that you can be a part of. Basically, this is a twisted version of Earth, right? Where an entity known as the Engine, which is basically a godlike machination, is influencing all these different parts of the world, and people are trying to find out more about it, to learn about it. And so some of the factions, they're all trying to get to the Engine, and the Engine, in order to protect itself, has created servants to the Engine. And so one of the factions is the servants, the people trying to protect the Engine and keep it out of everyone else's hands so that this godlike power doesn't go to someone it shouldn't. Anyway, the Engine directly has influence on this game, which is really cool. If you're out for a very strict my side versus your side, nothing weird's gonna happen, it's just gonna be we fight until the death. Twisted can be that game, but ultimately it's not, because the Engine does all of these different things that just changes up the game, and sometimes it's in your favor and sometimes it's not, and it's chaos and it's beautiful and it's amazing. So if you want to know more, I plan to do a few more videos, at least, hopefully more, on Twisted. And if you want to see those, please like, subscribe, stick around. Those will be coming out, and you'll get to see more unique characters as I paint more characters, from Ariel, the Little Mermaid Ariel, and Sebastian, and other people that are out there, because they're out there. And my goodness, take a look at the Oz faction. It's amazing. This game has so much to offer. Stick around, you'll enjoy it. And let's get back to painting Oliver. And then I wanted to paint the hat, and I thought, well, if his jeans are blue, his hat's got to be red. We can do a nice color red on here. And I'm still in the process of experimenting, right? I wanted to do this hat in a specific way. And the funny thing is that how the hat turned out, I was really happy with the base coat, right? It's a nice solid red. But the problem is that everything else looks stressed and worn and things like that. So you have to go in and you have to do something to that hat to make it look stressed and worn out too. And so I did the same thing I did before with the dry brushing. And it looked really, really good. Like, I was really happy with it. It looked like a worn out red hat. But the problem was that I was losing some of that red that I really wanted. And so I don't show it, but I actually go into the deeper points and add back the red that I lost after doing the dry brushing. And I was super happy with how it turned out. Then I have to move on to painting the gauntlet, which I was super excited for. And honestly, I painted a lot of stuff with copper penny before, and as far as like metallics goes, this isn't even like one of their main metallics, and it's gotta be one of my favorites when it comes to doing like that brass bronze color. No, it's not copper like the name says, but it is just a beautiful metallic that goes on so smooth. And if you're looking to do anything in like a brass, this is perfect for that. And then of course, once you do that, you want to go back and hit it with like a brownish wash. And so all I did was take brown paints that were already on my palette, thin them down as much as I could to make a wash, and then just go back right over the top of that copper penny, let that brown sink into those. And you can do it with an orange or another color to make it look more goldish or more copper or whatever you want to do, but I like the dark brown just to make it look and give some life to those grooves in that. Now, the armor itself has two large, like orb looking fixtures on it. And so I wanted to paint those, and I wanted to make them green glowing. And I've done videos in the past about how to do like circular glass for like goggles and things like that. And I thought I'm going to try that same thing here. So if you want to check out those videos, I'll put them up above, but this is what it looks like when you're done. And I was so happy with this. I thought, man, that looks like perfect. The only thing I could have done to make it better was maybe do some OSL to make it look like it was actually glowing, but I was super happy with it. And then I moved on to the other metallic thing. I didn't do any true metallics on, or sorry, non-metallics on this. I did all true metallics. Sometimes I just like them more, especially when there's not a ton of them. I prefer to use them. But he had this iron collar around his neck and the chains that were all over his body, and I thought the deathless metal would just be a beautiful color for this. And it looks black when I'm putting it on right now, but when it dries out, it just looks like a beautiful dark metal. And then once that was done, all I had to do was paint the gas tank that was on his wrist. And I thought, well, a dark green gas tank, that seems kind of par for the course. So let's throw that on here. And I could have gone in and done some highlights that I totally should have now that I'm thinking about it, but hindsight's 2020. I'm just happy with how it turned out to this point. And that's pretty much it. Afterwards, I used the colors that were already on my palette to mix up a leathery yellow to do the leather on his belt and the straps on the gauntlet, and make up some sandy blonde hair because it's Oliver. He has sandy blonde hair. And he's done. And it was a blast to paint. Now, I know sometimes models are too detailed and it makes them a nightmare, but I feel like this model had that perfect amount of open space to try out your painting techniques and just beautiful workmanship. The gauntlet is probably one of my favorite things that I have ever painted or seen on a miniature, and I absolutely love it. And like I said, Twisted, they will be at Adepticon this year. They are going to be pushing out the game in full. You're going to see a Kickstarter coming up soon that I'll talk about when the time comes. It is an awesome game that is coming back for a reason. Okay, so if you want to know more about that, and if, like me, you are just intrigued by this beautiful art style and just crazy fun skirmisher, stick around. Because like I said, I'll be doing more content. I've got a bunch of other miniatures that I want to paint for it, and we'll even talk about some of the rules and some of what the down and dirty of what makes it different and what makes it a better game than a lot of those that are out there for people like me who like to have fun instead of just beat my head against a brick wall for 3 hours. Okay, so if that interests you at all, stick around. And if you know anything about Twisted or other games that you think I should look into, drop those games down below and let me know your experience with Twisted, because I have not heard anything bad about it. It just seems like it was one of those really great games that changed hands and is now coming back because of how great it was. So thank you for joining me today while we painted Oliver, and hopefully that was something that you liked. As always, don't spend so much time building your world, painting your minis, that you forget to spend some time in them. Until next time.